Okay, so what if I told you that the single biggest thing holding back your career and your salary isn't a lack of skill or some missed opportunity, but your loyalty? It's a pretty wild idea, right? Well, we're about to dive into a report that completely flips the script on the whole idea of climbing the corporate ladder. We're all taught that being loyal at work is a virtue. It's a good thing. But what if that's just an outdated way of thinking? This report kicks off with a really provocative question. Is your loyalty to your company actually hurting you financially? All right. First up, let's talk about the real cost of sticking around. The data shows there's a measurable, quantifiable penalty for staying put, and it actually has a name: the loyalty tax. So, what exactly is this loyalty tax? Well, it's pretty simple and honestly kind of brutal. It's just the gap between what you're making right now and what your company would have to pay a brand new person off the street to do your exact same job today. And this is where the numbers start to get a little crazy. Internally, you know the drill. You're probably fighting for a standard 3 to 5% annual raise. But when you look outside, the market is offering a 15 to 30% premium for the same skills. And in some high-demand jobs, that jump can be 45% or even more. So let's see how this plays out in the real world. Check this out. After just 3 years, the person who stays loyal, taking those small, steady raises, is already earning noticeably less than the person who made a strategic job hop. You start falling behind, and you fall behind fast, and that gap, it just gets wider and wider over time. But here's the thing, it's not just about the money, as important as that is. The loyalty tax hits something that might be even more valuable in the long run: your skills. The report calls this the stagnation curve. And wow, this might just be the silent killer of modern careers. The data points to this really critical window. After about 2 years in the same job, if you're not getting new, tough challenges, your learning curve doesn't just flatten. It can actually start to go into reverse. Your skills can actually start to atrophy. Think about it like this. Your first 18 months in a role, that's your golden zone. You're learning like crazy, you're making a huge impact, but after that, you hit what they call the optimization phase. You're not creating the playbook anymore, you're just running it. And once you go past that 24-month mark, you risk skill atrophy. That's where you become an expert on your company's weird internal processes instead of on skills that the whole industry values. Now, this is where things get really counterintuitive. Because of this whole stagnation idea, what recruiters see as a good resume has completely flipped on its head. Yeah, you heard that right. Spending 7, 8, even 10 years in the same role without a big promotion or a major change in what you do, that's not seen as loyalty anymore. To a modern recruiter, that can actually be a red flag. It might signal that you've stagnated and you aren't adaptable. And to really get this shift, you have to know about a new metric that recruiters are using: project velocity. So just ask yourself, who's more valuable? The person who maintained one system for 6 years straight, or the person who tackled 3 totally different major challenges at 3 different companies in that same amount of time? It's all about the variety and the impact of your work, not just the years you've put in. And the data? Well, the data backs this up completely. Candidates who are in that sweet spot, 2 to 4 year stints at a company, they're getting 40% more recruiter outreach than people who stay in one place for 7 years or more. The market is literally rewarding strategic moves. So let's put all this together. What does it actually look like over the course of an entire decade? The report runs this perfect little simulation, a tale of 2 careers, where 2 identical professionals make just one different choice. So they both start at the exact same salary. Person A, we'll call them the loyalist, stays at their company and gets a solid 4% raise every year. Person B, the strategic hopper, moves every 3 years for a 20% jump. Just look at the difference after a decade. The loyalist is doing fine, making a respectable salary, but the hopper has completely blown past them, breaking that $200,000 barrier. The final number is just stunning. After 10 years, the strategic hopper is earning 44% more every single year than the loyalist. 44%. When you think about how that compounds over an entire career, this loyalty tax can easily cost you over $1 million in lifetime earnings. So you have to be asking, why? Why does this happen? Is your company trying to underpay you on purpose? Well, not necessarily. A lot of the time, it's just baked into the very structure of how big companies and HR departments work. So let's look at how to play the game. It really comes down to two different pots of money. You've got retention budgets for current employees. These are small, they're limited by trying to be fair internally. They can't give you a huge 20% raise without upsetting everybody. But then there's the acquisition budget for new hires. That's a huge pot of money, dictated by whatever the market demands to get top talent. The tough pill to swallow is that you just can't access that big money when you're already inside the system. But wait, I know what you're thinking. What happens the moment you resign and your boss suddenly finds the money? What about the counteroffer? It's so tempting, I get it, but the data on this is crystal clear. Just look at this. Of all the employees who accept a counteroffer, a staggering 90% are gone within a year anyway. They either end up leaving or they're let go. Accepting that counteroffer is almost always just a short-term fix, not a real solution. And here's why they fail. First, the trust is broken. Management now sees you as a flight risk. Second, all the reasons you wanted to leave in the first place, the bad manager, the boring work, that stuff hasn't magically gone away. And finally, that big raise they give you, it's often just an advance on your future raises, which means your salary is probably going to be frozen for the next couple of years. So what's the actual takeaway here? What do you do? The report boils it all down to a super simple, data-driven strategy. It's just 2 steps. First, every 2 to 3 years, perform a market check on your role. See what you're worth. And second, if your current company can't match that value or give you a significant new challenge, then the data is telling you it's time to move. I want to end with this last thought from the report because it just hits so hard. Loyalty is a noble trait in friendships, but in the 2026 labor market, it is a luxury few can afford. The core message here isn't about being disloyal to a company. It's about being loyal to yourself, to your own growth, your own market value, and your own future. Okay,